I'm delighted to come here and talk to you all about my career journey. And I hope that you find it interesting and also inspiring whilst you're on your own career trajectory in the cybersecurity landscape. We're all on this winding road together, I think, to a certain degree, and can all learn and share from one another. So I really hope that you find my experiences interesting and can learn from them. And I'm always here to, answer any questions as well. I'm on the CLI chat group and also available on LinkedIn as well. I started my career in banking. So I joined the graduate technology leadership program at Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch was then taken over by Bank of America. So just to give you an understanding of the scale of the type of organization that I have spent 17 years in, it's about 250,000 employees. It had about 2,500 employees in the information security function. And we had at the time about a $650 million budget. And I think it's probably at about $1 billion now, because I haven't been in that space for a few years. And some of the key risks that we were dealing with were things like distributed denial of service from Iran in response to Stuxnet, and of course the advanced persistent threat. In my last key role at Bank of America, I was the global head of forensics. So I was one of the key critical control owners based out of the UK, which is quite unusual because it's an American-based institution. And I was responsible for 32 investigators around the globe and responsible for about 2,000 incidents and investigations. And what that did is it gave me a great degree of experience across the entire landscape of information security, because when you're running 2,000 incidents a year, an incident and an investigation could span any element of information security. It could be a control failure, it could be absence of a control, it could be fraudulent, it could be a vulnerability, it could be an advanced attack. So from a functional standpoint, I had some very good leadership experience. I was also really lucky to experience a new CISO coming into the organization, and they got Booz Allen Hamilton into Bank of America to completely define a new cybersecurity strategy. And they aligned our program against the NIST framework and the 5 chevrons that were part of NIST at the time. So I had some very good functional leadership, and I knew what good looked like in terms of a very mature information security program. I then I continued to work, but I had a couple of kids, and I was really lucky because at that point I was a global leader, and I got married, and I've got 2 young boys who are 4 and 6 now. And it soon became unsustainable for me to undertake this global function whilst I had 2 young children. And I mention this because I'm sure there are many female leaders out there who are wondering how they're going to fit it all in. And you may learn from my experience. So I took maternity leave. I had a couple of kids. I stayed in the role for a bit. It became very difficult. And so I then made the decision to just exit and take a pause. I didn't take a career break. I actually very quickly landed in the insurance sector in the UK. And anyone that's familiar with the insurance sector will know that they're about 15 years behind in terms of information security maturity. But the great thing about being in the insurance space was that I got a lot of breadth of experience. So I had gone from being a very siloed specialist in the forensic space, and I was able to operate across all elements of the cybersecurity program. So I operated as a consultant, a freelance consultant, for 3 years across 3 really good, significant, sizable insurance organizations. And in my last role, I was the deputy CISO for a motor insurance company. So I was on track to becoming a CISO. And of course, because I had deputy CISO in my profile, I was starting to get a fair amount of interest in the job market. My mentor then called me up and said, "Saira, what are you doing?" And I think this is really a very useful learning, because sometimes there are catalysts in your career that help you to understand where you're at and perhaps prompt you to challenge yourself a little bit. So he phoned me up and he said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm just bouncing around in the insurance industry. I'm really liking it. You know, it's great. I'm a freelance. Everybody values me. I'm earning loads. And he said, you know, you need to get back in the game at some point. You cannot float around for the next few years. So he really challenged me to start attending some interviews for head of security type roles and some CISO roles. And so I think I attended 5 or 6 interviews across different companies. And I was, to be quite honest, I was fumbling around. I didn't really know how to articulate myself as a leader. I could express that I was very good at understanding what a good looked like from a security standpoint in terms of functional elements of the program, but I couldn't articulate how I could come into an organization, embed my values and beliefs, and create a cyber resilient program that enabled the company to operate within risk appetite. I was just fumbling around, okay, and getting somewhat frustrated. So the rejection started to come through and I was getting comments like, she's great, we really like her, but she's about a year away from this. And we just don't think she's ready yet. So I took a step back and I thought, right, I'm done with interviews. I'm just going to speak to a few of my mentors and figure it out. So I was on pause in my mind, and I then got called up for another opportunity, and I was very hesitant to go for that. At the same time that I had been called up for this opportunity, an ex-colleague of mine had posted on LinkedIn that she had attended the Cyber Leadership Institute program and really enjoyed it. So I took a look at it and I just thought, fantastic, this is exactly what I need. You've got 3 founders here who have a wealth of experience. There's a network, there's training. I hadn't necessarily invested in my training in the time that I had been a consultant. So it's a really good opportunity to develop myself. So I immediately signed up. And, you know, I was being called up for interviews for this new opportunity. So before the course had even started, I started drilling into module 2, which covers interview tips. So I went straight into that, and it's a 17-minute video, I think, hosted by Darren. And it gave me everything I needed to get through the first 2 rounds of my interviews. I think Darren articulated that you need to demonstrate that you're a well-rounded leader, that you're an agile thinker, that you can influence and persuade, all the things that I wasn't doing in the interview. So I went in there and I nailed the first 2 interviews. They then put me through another 3 rounds of interviews. So I then started to drill into what a good cyber resilience strategy looks like. So all of the prep work that Jan had given us for the project. And I learned the lingo. I learned about talking about risk appetite, operating within it, residual inherent risk, reducing your risk profile, making sure that the board is comfortable, elevating risks, all of that. You know, it was an education for me. And in that time, I nailed the next 2 interviews. And in the 5th interview, I just hit them with my 100-day plan. And I think by that point, I had a lot of credibility and they felt that I could come in and hit the ground running. And I think I wiped the floor with the competition. And so, you know, I'm really pleased to say that I got the CISO role. So I'm now in a fintech startup in the crypto asset space. And we don't have anything in our space at the moment. So I'm building it up from scratch. So I think that's just my story of how CLI has helped me to get the job. So one of the modules covers reporting lines, how you should, in order to be successful, you should be within the right reporting stream. So because I've got that knowledge now, I'm able to influence and persuade to get the best reporting line, as in reporting to the person that gets it the most. So I'm pleased to say I'm reporting into the CEO. So that I think is a big win for the security program, because he totally gets it and I'm getting all the attention and investment that we need. I've also learned how to build a cyber savvy workforce. So we're a very small company, but we use Slack, and within the Slack channel, on my second day, I set up a cybersecurity soundbites channel, and every day I hit them with something new and interesting. So I'm keeping them engaged and interested every day. And we've had phishing simulations. We haven't really done our official training, but I'm pleased to say no one's clicking on some very good simulations. On my first day, I was asked to present to the board. Okay, this was within 15 minutes of me joining the company. So I presented my project to them. And I said, this is all academic, but it demonstrates my thinking. And it blew them away. They were like, this, this leader gets it. She understands how we're going to reduce our risk profile and what our control design is going to look like. And instantly I just got recognition, and the chief risk officer phoned me up afterwards and said, that's the best risk meeting we've had in the 5 months that I've been here. And I'm extremely comfortable with how you are going to build this program. And then just other things that are really helping me out is just the premium content. We are starting from zero. So every time the CEO comes to me and says, you need to create a third-party risk management program, I just go drilling into the blueprints. We do use Microsoft 365, so the add-ons. I mean, there's just so much content there. It's enabled me to hit the ground running. I also don't have a threat intelligence capability at the moment, so I'm using the feeds actively. So I've got a single point to go to instead of trying to collect information from multiple sources. So that's really invaluable. The piece I haven't put there is about the network. So there are people in this space who have mentored me. I know Etienne was a key inspiration to me because he won the competition in the last round and really advised me on how to create good strategy. Magda Celli is someone I've worked with in the past who also advises me. So the network's been invaluable. And in terms of what's next, I think I'm keen to get a grip on the transformation program so that I'm operating my strategy in line with best practice and build my own brand as a leader. So for me, the Cyber Leadership Institute is effectively has changed my career trajectory to a certain degree. It's helped me out tremendously, and it continues to be a great support. So I hope that you found this useful, and I hope it continues to inspire you and help you to understand that with the right tools and support that you can do it too.